You're running a lunchbox shop that's beneath our family status. You're an embarrassment, so you won't be attending the wedding. At a family meeting with my son, who's engaged to the CEO's daughter, I was hit with these unexpected words. My late husband Joseph's cherished shop was belittled, and I was told I couldn't attend my beloved son's wedding. I couldn't accept it, but if it's for my son's sake, I had no choice. I can't ruin my son's marriage because of me. I want him to be happy. Reluctantly, I agreed to their terms. But then, an unexpected person showed up, leaving the other parents pale-faced. "Richard, take care of Mom for me," Joseph had said with a smile as he took his last breath. I thought we had so much more time. We had promised to make people smile through our cooking. Growing up, my parents were always busy, so I naturally started making dinner. I'd cook, wrap up the leftovers, and go to bed. In the morning, the dishes were always clean, and a thank you note was left. I wanted to make my parents happy, so I got into cooking. Joseph was passionate and dreamed of owning his own restaurant. I was drawn to his enthusiasm and effort toward his dream, so we started dating. Cooking for Joseph, who aspired to be a chef, was nerve-wracking. One day he said, "Nancy, let's open a shop together. Your cooking has the magic to make people smile, and I'm one of them. Let's make people smile together." Hearing that, I remembered my past efforts to please my parents and decided to run a homey lunchbox shop with Joseph. I handled mornings. Joseph took care of nights. Joseph would always say thank you after meals. "Gratitude needs to be expressed," he'd say, a phrase that still rings in my ears. After giving birth to Richard, life was tough, but fulfilling. Joseph passed away before fulfilling his dream. Richard grew up fast, and I did my best not to let him see my sorrow. He's a thoughtful, kind child who even helps with chores. He loves my cooking and even started cooking himself. When he got a job, he cooked a special meal to thank me. Even after moving out, he occasionally visits to check on me. Recently, Richard said he'd cook another special meal. What's the occasion? He'd often cook, but special meals were rare since he got his job. As we sat down to eat his delicious cooking, Richard said, "Mom, I'm marrying Patricia." I knew Patricia, his warm-hearted coworker, and felt they were a good match. "That's wonderful. Make her happy, okay?" "Of course. And Mom, I might become the next CEO. Turns out Patricia is the daughter of the CEO of the company where Richard works. They're impressed with Richard's work and see him as a future CEO. When I heard this, I was surprised, but also deeply proud that my son was being recognized. As I prepared to visit Patricia's family before the wedding, I felt sentimental looking back on my life. William Smith and Elizabeth, who greeted us, had nothing but praise for Richard. The table was filled with various dishes, and I could see a private chef busy in the kitchen. "Richard is truly exceptional, both in his work and as a person. We can trust him with the future of the company. We always thought Richard and Patricia were a perfect match. We cried tears of joy when we heard they were getting married. We look forward to the future." Richard, a bit shy, firmly declared, "I will build a happy home with Patricia. I have something to prepare, so Patricia and I will step out for a moment." They left the room with playful smiles, and I felt a mix of pride and warmth. "So, Nancy, when are you planning to quit that lunchbox shop of yours?" After they left, I sensed a change in Elizabeth's tone. "Quit? I never said I was quitting." "Well, it's not like it's making much money. Why keep running such a lunchbox shop?" I couldn't believe my ears. "Is that Lunchbox shop? Why are you saying this? That shop is precious to me and my late husband, Joseph. Well, it's not like you're offering anything special. The Smith family owns a major corporation with hundreds of employees. It's not a good match. We were fine with Richard, but we can't accept that his family runs a small-town lunchbox shop. We thought you were quitting, which is why we moved forward with the wedding plans. I was stunned. I couldn't comprehend what was being said. Or maybe I didn't want to. Was my shop the reason Richard couldn't get married? Why does the scale of our business affect my son's marriage? It's a significant difference, objectively speaking. Elizabeth is right. How can we tell people that the family of our future CEO runs an outdated lunchbox shop? Don't belittle it just because it's a lunchbox shop. Elizabeth snorted at my words and delivered the final blow. Enough! You're an embarrassment to our family with that lunchbox shop. You won't be attending the wedding. Not just the wedding. If you continue the shop, we'll cut ties with Richard as well. Do you intend to hold Richard back? Their words cut deep into my heart. I was overwhelmed with a mix of emptiness and anger. I was just happy that Richard was finding his happiness. He's my pride and joy. Please, let me see him get married, even if it's from the shadows. Why do I have to watch Richard's fine form from the shadows? It was my own words, but to be honest, my brain couldn't keep up with them. I'm sorry, but even if you were in the shadows, Richard and Patricia might find it suspicious. We'll say you had an emergency and couldn't attend. Just then, I started to hear Richard and Patricia's voices as they returned to the room. They'll be back soon. If I just give in to William Smith and Elizabeth's demands, these two can live happily. If I just endure it, everything will work out. If I just... Nancy, what do you think? All right. Sorry for the wait. Here's a gift from us to the three of you. Oh, what a relief! You two prepared such a wonderful gift. I'm so happy. Thank you. I didn't expect you to do something so wonderful. Elizabeth got a music box. President William got a whiskey. And for me, an apron. Patricia suggested the apron, saying you're always cooking delicious meals at the shop. We were worried if you'd like it. Ah, thank you. I'll cherish it. Mom, are you crying that much? Tears wouldn't stop flowing. Richard looked at me, surprised but smiling warmly. This apron will be my last memory. The smiles of Richard and Patricia were deeply etched in my heart. Be happy. On the day of the wedding, I sat on the living room floor, still in my pajamas, without even the energy to turn on the lights. My phone was filled with missed calls from Richard and Patricia. Since that day, I didn't know how to interact with Richard, who was excitedly talking about the wedding. I could only offer him cliched words. I held the apron they gave me tightly. Celebrating their union alone, tears flowing endlessly. The next day, I was awakened by the incessant ringing of the doorbell. I instantly knew it was Richard. And indeed, it was him, and Patricia was with him. On the first day of their new life, they had come all the way to my house. As soon as I opened the door, Richard, unable to hide his anxiety, said, "Mom, what happened? We were worried because we knew you wouldn't forget the wedding. Why didn't you come?" "Nancy, was it something I did?" Their faces were pale, a stark contrast to the happiness they should be feeling. I didn't expect him to make me look like this the day after the wedding. "Mom, please, I need to know." From their expressions, I knew that no amount of sugarcoating would work. "Let's talk. Come in." I told them everything that President William and Elizabeth had said to me when they stepped out. I wondered if it was okay to reveal everything, but I couldn't stop myself. Richard's face gradually tensed up. But Patricia seemed the most shocked. What is this? How could they say such terrible things to you, Nancy? This is unbelievable. Tears flowed from Patricia's eyes, widened in a mix of anger, sadness, and surprise. Nancy, I don't know how to apologize for my parents. I'm so sorry. Stop it, Patricia. You've done nothing wrong. I'm sorry for causing you pain the day after your wedding. Mom, thank you for telling us. Richard spoke calmly, and with a daze, Patricia left my home. The next day, the doorbell rang again. Could it be Richard? I opened the door to find President William and Elizabeth standing there. What have you done? Enough of your games! I was emotionless as I absorbed their angry shouts. What's the matter? You come here shouting, disturbing the neighbors? Disturbing? We're not worried about the neighbors. You've ruined everything. Seems like you're the ones who've ruined things. What are you talking about? You must have filled Patricia and Richard's heads with nonsense. Richard even handed in his resignation. That's right. Patricia is even talking about cutting ties with us. You orchestrated this, didn't you? I hadn't asked for any of this, nor had I orchestrated anything. Was this what Richard's determined look meant? I was relieved, but also puzzled about how to handle the situation. I simply told them the truth. Don't accuse me of manipulating them. I think they made their own decisions. Stop playing games. I'd like to say the same to you. What is this? Are you trying to ruin our company? Just as President William shouted, a car pulled up in front of the house. A sleek, spotless, black luxury car. The door opened and we all gasped. Out stepped Richard, followed by Patricia, and then an elderly gentleman. Nancy, long time no see. I apologize for the recent rudeness. Dad, why are you here? Do you know this person? Don't ask so many questions. Nancy's father is a successful businessman who runs multiple companies. We owe him a lot. Nancy is also involved in the business as an executive. Didn't you know that? The elderly gentleman was David Smith, President William's father and Patricia's grandfather, currently serving as the chairman. I had met him at board meetings at my father's company, but it had been a while. President William paled at David's words. You can't be serious. You don't even know the management of your business partners? Shame on you. And you dare to say cut ties and don't attend the wedding to the parents of the man Patricia is going to spend her life with? Utterly disrespectful. David's words enveloped me, Richard, and Patricia. President William and Elizabeth looked as if they'd been plunged into despair. A week later, I ran into President William at a board meeting at my father's company. He gave me a slight nod and moved away, avoiding me. I watched his retreating back and made up my mind. For Richard and Patricia's sake, this relationship couldn't continue as is. After the meeting, I stopped President William, who was hurrying home. President William, we're renting out my shop this weekend to celebrate my son's wedding. Would you like to join us? Well, I don't think it's appropriate for me to. Don't say that. It's a good opportunity to mend fences. We had issues at the wedding, but why not start fresh? Why would you? After all that happened. I was hurt, but Patricia apologized first. I want those two to be happy. We share that wish, don't we? Will you join us? After some thought, President William nodded. I'm truly sorry. I'll join the celebration. On the day when President William and Elizabeth walked into my lunch shop, Richard and Patricia stood up to say something. But before they could, I stepped forward to greet them. Thank you for coming today. It's a bit cramped because we've set up the dining area where we usually display lunchboxes, but let's enjoy ourselves. What's the meaning of this? Patricia glared at her parents. Patricia, I invited them. We can't continue like this. We can't forget what happened at the wedding, but we can make better memories from now on. But also, you can't just sever ties with family. I have a request too, okay? Elizabeth, thank you for raising Patricia to be such a wonderful person. I said such terrible things. It's because Patricia, who met Richard, is wonderful. I learned from Joseph that you have to express gratitude. It took time, but the tension between the newlyweds and their parents eventually eased. Now, we all enjoy a meal together once a month. Elizabeth even started buying lunchboxes from my shop. Today, as always, I greet her wearing the apron Richard and Patricia gave me. Welcome! All to bring smiles through cooking.